whichever showmaker you get. As Shiu here, a little bit of a grin on his face, and I was going to say, Wolf, you are asking, what is the form going to look like? Well, often when they're giggling and having a good time, it's either a great sign or an awful sign.
So basically what you're saying is we don't know anything still.
Yes, we still don't know anything. I do want to explain that a lot, like, you guys are looking like geniuses right now. Yourself, Orcs, and Coco, that was because we predicted before T1 got obliterated by the Noodle Boys.
That's true.
And that happened, and now, if I could flip-flop, you know, if I could pull a Raz, I 100% would. Because Nongshim, certainly looking like the stronger team here today.
And remember, even though Nongshim don't have any group ramifications in this series, it still matters for their placement. These matches will carry on to round 3. So very important for them. Also can make sure that they can keep their standings at the highest moving into that gauntlet, as we pointed out before, because if Dplus 2-0, they'll actually jump up to 4th place. So still very important for them. As we'll see what this final ban is going to be, the Gwen and the Vi are removed. It'll be Braum over Kalista here in this draft.
Wow, okay. Well, this
Poppy's also banned.
So they knew that Taliyah was probably going to be the highest priority, but with the Braum ban, well, it's likely that they'd just be able to pick Kalista Renata if they wanted, or Kalista Nico.
They can do that, or
then they'd also be happy picking that into Braum. So I'm really confused.
I feel like they're looking for the Xin Zhao Ahri here on the side of Nongshim RedForce. They confidently lock those in, because you don't want to play the Azir into the Taliyah. You know it's going to get locked in. Instead, Kingen will get his iconic Rumble. You could save that mid pick for 3rd. Still could lock down the Xin Zhao here. Take that away from Dplus Kia. The Pantheon is banned. If you go down the tier list, that's where you're putting your jungle lock-in. And I think, you know, obviously with Ahri still available and no way to prevent that, it's a pretty solid lineup here for Nongshim RedForce here on the red side.
Yep, I like it. Rumble Kalista actually just feels so powerful, but instead they'll take the Wukong. I mean, Wukong Taliyah has been really powerful as well. Taking that one away from Lucid makes a lot of sense, but he still has the Xin Zhao to go to if he would like to. They could also just immediately lock Trundle Scion and just say, well, now we're Trundle Scion, haha.
The thing about Trundle Scion here that I'm not as comfortable about is I feel like the matchup in the top lane is really tough to play out into the Rumble.
It's not as good when he rushes Leandries, is it?
Yeah, so not 100% on board with that, although I think from a theoretical standpoint, it certainly could have worked. So the Xin Zhao will come through here in response, and I will see what that counter pick is going to be.
I think Alawi is probably the choice. It does make a lot of sense.
I do think Ornn, Taliyah, a lot of team fighting power, a lot of early objective control around those big ultimates.
And Ornn is something that has worked into the Rumble before as well. And it does mean that Calyx likely going to be going more of an AP variety champion as well. So that first item, Rookern, is going to feel pretty nice, as we are hovering some champions today.
We certainly are, but I still think Ahri may be on the cards here. Like you said, a bit of a damage issue, though. They will need a really big carry in the late game for Jiu if they are going to lock the Ahri. Same with the Sylas, who is great for brawling. Brawling, you know, into this composition works really well when you have the Wukong, and there are great ultimates to steal here already. And, you know, the Ornn Horn gives you so much power as Sylas. Yeah. So I do think that makes a lot of sense. It's a champion that's very difficult to play into Taliyah, though, in the lane. And that's where things can get a little bit questionable here in terms of how that laning phase is going to go. We'll need a little bit of help, I think, to get through that one stably. Because now we're going to look at picking away 80 carries that are safe. The Ezreal, I think, definitely number 1 on that one for the side of Nongshim RedForce. Perhaps even a Xayah ban could come through.
I was thinking, like, I think the Ezreal might have been a mistake, because I think Aiming definitely wants to play Xayah, and Beryl really wants to play Rakan. And you can't really pick the Rakan away. I guess you can kind of pick the Xayah away.
I think you can kind of pick the Rakan away here. It's not great into Taliyah, but it works really well with Wukong. Depending on how you engage, I think it's very tough. But I trust that Lehens should be able to pilot it here. But I see what you're saying, and I do think the Xayah is kind of a must ban here into this draft. Way too safe into Wukong Sylas.
Yeah, I'll see what they're going to do as the Xayah does hit the deck. So do they pick the Rakan or not? That's the question. Or does DK actually ban it away?
I'm trying to think of if there's anything else they'd be super.
I mean, the Alistar. The Alistar's the other, like, definite ban that should happen instead.
And if they ban Alistair, do we see something like a Misfortune potentially? You know, works really well with the setup they have in this composition. There's a lot of questions in this one. Gio is quite the eclectic player. You know, this would be the scenario where I wouldn't be shocked if he's like, it's a Neela draft.
Well, honestly, I mean, there's a lot of melee. So if they can pull them all together, could certainly work out. Nautilus going to be picked up, a Lehen's staple.
So wanting to have a winning matchup in the bottom lane, I think in terms of the range, and want to get a little bit more information before they lock the AD carry, because they didn't need more engage, but they got it with this Nautilus lock-in.
Wait, Kallista's available still.
Yeah, Kallista, Renata is still up, but it makes this comp a little bit weird here for Dplus Kia.
I think you can still go Kallista Rakan if you want to, but Kallista Renata up and available and will just be snapped up here by Beryl. What is the answer for Gio? That's the question.
Is he gonna go Ashe in this? You know, I feel like it could work. Senna, very tricky to play out. I think this is like Nongshim saying it's a new era of our team. You know, we're a legend team. We can pilot the Senna into a Kallista draft like this. We're confident we can actually live through the mid game. We have a lot of mid game power here, and our late game is going to be very strong. We'll just completely outrange the Kallista later on. Forget about early. We're going to make it through. The top side of the map is really strong for us, and then we will later on be a force to be reckoned with. I think Nongshim of the past would have shied away from drafts like this. Nongshim last year, Nongshim even as far back as LCK Cup, I'm like, well, that's a little bit too challenging. That's a little bit too difficult to pilot. You wouldn't trust Gio on a pick like this, but right now in his current form, I do feel like this pick, while risky, can work, and love to see the confidence.
Yeah, I do think that Senna is really strong, and I kind of feel bad that we didn't mention it earlier on. We've been seeing her banned in the second round a whole lot here in the LCK and abroad as well. So aiming going for a far more early game version of it, right? And utilizing the Ornn for late game, things like that to allow the Kallista to still dance around, still find relevance. But the Senna really is a problem because Nongshim's composition really does come together utilizing that late game threat, right? That range advantage that she will definitely have later on in the game. It kind of puts a timer on DK,
100%.
And DK under pressure and not necessarily a DK that wins a lot, Wolf.
That's our biggest concern. I think the ornaments buy you some late game, but nothing as much as this Senna is going to bring with the range.
Well, we'll just have to see how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. It's all on the line for DK and KT, even though they're not playing Nongshim. See whether they can bring them into the Legend group.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Oh my goodness, look at that Skinergy. That was unbelievable. It's like everyone except for Rumble. Just perfect coordination here on Nongshim's side. Oh my god, I think we should just give them the win now.
Well,
everyone looks like it's like a world skin set and then Kingen. So Kingen just needs to be on the island. It's top lane, right? That's on theme,
well,
right?
Kingen, he's just kind of, he likes to do the unique champion picks. He likes to do things a little bit differently, so he was just not going to fit in with the group. He's like, I'll just do the weird thing.
I mean, top lane is a 1v1 game. Like, it's a very different story, as we all know.
Yeah, at least it's more fun than it was with lane swaps at level 1 that we had for a really long time.
Yeah.
The guessing game that was played there is, man, Calyx just really wants to die.
No. Well, the handshake is going to come through, and he will flash away. Gets rendered, aiming, destroys a blast cone. And now Lucid coming on in will spot that Lehens and Gio are at least trying to keep an eye on this Blue Sentinel. It looks like Gideon is just going to give it up.
Dplus going to get a big win out of this. Calyx flashes to know that he's going to lose his blue buff. Well, Gideon is going to lose his blue buff.
Oh, Gideon giving some information away here as well, as he is going to be moving down towards the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, I don't know how well this is going to go for him, if I'm honest with you, Atlas. The timing of this is not great. Lucid doesn't have Smite, but he has the clear speed to take these Raptors out. Now we're going to have a level 2 battle, where he has the advantage.
Yeah, Lucid knows exactly what's going on here, as he just does a drive-by. Okay. What? That was
Showmaker's
so
coming.
Strange, yeah. Showmaker's also going to come on round, does get that ward down, but Gideon does need to be a little bit respected. Still only level 2, and so he's just going to walk his way out. Didn't even elect to pick up the red buff. And that was just so weird. Lucid's was like, oh, hey man, how you going? You can take that if you want. I'm just going to take these Krugs.
Yeah, he didn't take it though. In fact, he just watched him take Krugs and then had to leave because Calyx told him Showmaker was coming. And then he wasted some of Showmaker's mana, you could argue, but it didn't really get any advantage there. Calyx tried to hold the wave towards his turret, and is actually going to take a quick back here. And Lucid still gets his red buff, as I was mentioning. At the end of the day, Dplus still have that huge advantage they generated from the level 1. You can see it reflected in the gold already.
Yeah, and the level 1, it's actually just that ward next to the wolves.
Yeah.
That gets them so much of that extra value.
And the fact that Calyx doesn't know, and they want to know so they can actually, you know, send Gideon on his normal pathing, is why he checks there, why he loses his flash.
Yeah.
He's aware that there's a pretty high possibility that is exactly what's going to happen. But he reacts quickly enough, is able to outplay after the handshake comes through, so he still lives. But this is already, as we mentioned before, a pretty tough matchup for the Sylas in these early levels.
Yeah, especially early on. I feel like oftentimes in the LCK we watch Zeka playing this matchup out. I feel like that is a little bit disingenuous because he's really good at it.
Yeah.
Calyx, without quite as much on-stage experience as Zeka, and so may not necessarily find the same level of advantage into Showmaker's Taliyah here today. His Taliyah wasn't great in their last series, I'm not going to lie. So maybe they can utilize that to their advantage, but right now you can see he does have a slight lead. A few minions in advantage himself. As he throws down some rocks, Calyx just going to walk the other direction. That will keep him okay.
Some pings coming down here about where right now Gideon is. Shu hitting knockups like this, making you feel better about the matchup.
And you know what's going to happen, Wolf? This is the saddest outcome.
Yeah.
This series is going to be awesome. It's just going to be a really great series to watch. And
but it will end in tragedy?
Yeah, and then, like, maybe we won't have both of these teams in the Legend Group. Maybe DK, maybe it's not good enough to get DK into the Legend Group, and we just don't get to see it.
Well, my best case scenario, to be honest, in terms of like what outcome I would pick, would be to have the tiebreaker. So then they get to have the direct match off.
Give some agency over to KT.
We are going to see a big dive here, it looks like.
Yeah. Aiming, just trying to dance around. Lucid just walks in. They want to kill the hens, and they will be able to do so. Beryl looking for a bailout here. Not able to get it, but it's a double kill as DK just lock down this bottom lane and destroy it.
Yeah, Showmaker does have to flash there at the end, but I think he's very happy with the outcome of this one. It's really difficult to dive a Nautilus because he can just root everyone who gets under turret, but they juggle the aggro well. Beryl also has bailout, so even though he can't get the reset in time, which would have been amazing for them, it just continues to buy time for the dive to go off here. Showmaker shows up last, and Lens is trying to get that root off on the Beryl. Beryl bails out, and buys just enough time for Showmaker to come in here. The ramping turret damage scares him. And
yeah, Showmaker almost died. Like,
yeah.
If he didn't flash, like, immediately, he would have been dead.
I think it was the wise choice, and he's the one who picks up the big money on this one.
Yeah.
And also the fact that Gio is put down early is exactly what they're looking for. And I was going to mention before, like leading up until this, everything was looking okay for Nongshim, even though they had a small gold deficit, especially in the jungle, because they have the comp that has the Senna. But now, Dplus doing exactly what they're supposed to do, what they want to do with this early game. Great level 1, great follow-up dive here. The prio that Showmaker's had in mid is paying off.
Yep, they need to keep the pressure on, but it is something that DK can do. There are teams where we're like, oh, we like your early game, but can you actually keep going for fights? Like, that is DK's weakness, is going for fights too often, right? Sometimes even with scaling drops, things like that, as we're seeing, they're going to try and keep Lehens and Jiu away from this wave, aiming, able to chase after him, but it's a decent little snare. Beryl playing really far up as this Renata, and just demonstrating that Renata into Nautilus, just not very fun for good old Nautilus.
No, it's really not, and Calyx gets the chains.
Yeah, chains will connect here. Showmaker wanting to keep him at arm's length, will be able to continue to do so, but...
How many chains you can hit often dictates how well this lane goes.
Oh, avoiding the knockup there is King, and he's going to throw down the equalizer, immediate flash, as she avoids the harpoon, needed to do all of those things to live. But King holds onto his flash. It's still a big win for the Rumble.
Yeah, and they're just not letting Gideon have his blue buff this game. It's not going to allow it. Using the prio incredibly well here, even though that topside exchange didn't go that well for Shiu. He's able to flash, he's able to get out of dodge, and they're winning bottom side, so all he really needs to do is live up there as Ornn while the rest of his team wins bottom side, and he's going to be feeling perfect with how things are going. That's going to be the first Mountain Dragon here, going over to Dplus.
Yeah, they are really coming out of the gate swinging, understanding that it is like 2-0 or bust, to be perfectly honest. A series against KT, at this point in time, I would not want to opt into that. That team is looking really scary, and sending them to the Rise group is exactly what DK wants to do. A 2-0 here will be the only way to do that without a tiebreaker or just them losing.
That's right. And Nongshim here going to try to get grubs in return with the topside prio they have right now. I think it might just be a 2 grub and out here for Gideon if he can get this first one without smiting. And then once Lucid shows up, he's even just going to commit to the first smite here.
Yeah.
Rumble did back, so wow, just not really getting anything in this early game, which is kind of what you expect. They did have a winning topside, and the timing of the back there not really doing Gideon any favors.
Yeah, just showing that sometimes what happens at level 1 can be pretty catastrophic.
This feels like in this matchup, you could have hung around to look for the smite fight at least on the second one because you can just Warriors Trickster out, but he's scared of the potential. I don't know if Showmaker was on vision there, did have his ultimate, and if Showmaker shows up, then you might not get out with your life.
I'll tell you what, Calyx is playing this really, really well.
He is, and he's hit that chain earlier, starting to get through the toughest parts of this matchup. And confident enough to pick Sylas into Talia, that's a good sign. Into Showmaker as well here, and so far, making it work.
Yeah, it's not like, end of the world or anything, and Showmaker still has a gold advantage. That's because he utilized the roaming potential of this, oh, never mind, -1. Calyx is so far ahead.
But yeah, this is how it's supposed to look if the Sylas is sending the bleeding well and with that roam there, and that's a good sign. I mean, the comp is doing what it's supposed to do on both sides here, initially here. Gio dying, unfortunately, is not ideal, but even he is only a little bit behind. In fact, takes a slight lead here as these minions come through for now.
Yep.
It's only going to be temporary, but I think Dplus, so far so good, but they need to do more. And they will have their next opportunity to have a really big fight here in 3 minutes' time.
Yeah, rocks being thrown around here in the mid lane. Showmaker finding some buttons this time. That is going to help him out. As Beryl still positioned as aggressively as possible. But we were talking about the fact that Dplus can generally be relied upon to go for aggressive plays. Haven't necessarily been doing as much. Still waiting for the next objective to come up. That's going to be 2.5 minutes, this dragon.
With the prio in bottom and mid, Nongshim are going to have to do something creative to get prio for the Drake if they want to fight for it. They may simply just say, you can have it, we're not going to force the issue on this. But otherwise, keep track of Kingan's TP, whether they look for a late swap, how much damage Kingan can get done here. For example, if he forces Gio out of the lane, he has to TP back before the dragon spawns. That's another way Nongshim could get an edge here, get some extra prio. Because otherwise, just naturally here, Skull going over to Dplus. Bottom side is always going to be theirs, mid is always going to be theirs. So if Nongshim want to take a fight here where they can use their Cyclone, the combo there with the Equalizer, the brawling power of Sylas in the mid game, like this comp has both late game Senna scaling, but also a lot of power here in mid. I think prio is going to have to be the way. So far, it just looks like with these lanes here for Dplus, it's going to, like I said, take something unusual, something creative here, or they might just have to take an awkward fight or give it up. And I hope they give it up rather than take the awkward fight, because if you fall behind into what Dplus has and they just continue to snowball, then game's over.
It could be really hard. I do think that a win condition is also just Kingan. He's pretty good at laying carpet. He puts the red carpet down in the right spots. He wins lanes on this Rumble very effectively, and in fact, he wins games on this champion for Nongshim. And he's right now making Shiu's life really hard. I really like this from Gideon, as the Ornhorn is going to sound. It does get the double knock-up, though, and the outplay is gorgeous! Bellow's Breath comes on through, but he's on the Equalizer. And so he goes down. A little bit unfortunate. Tried his very best, as now Lehen's kind of getting ignored here, as he is left underneath his turret. Calyx is fighting against Showmaker, but Showmaker getting the better end of it, throwing out the volley. Flash does have to come through, and Calyx not wanting to risk it.
King gets a plate off the play, though. Really nicely played there from Gideon and King. And the Equalizer placement on where Shiu has to return to activate his ultimate.
Yeah, Shiu played it about as well as he possibly could, but Kingan's Equalizer just meant no.
Well, watch this. So Gideon comes over here first, right? The wave is crashing. Shiu instantly has to ult, but now he's trapped in this position where in order to reactivate his ultimate, he has to stand on Equalizer. The placement is perfect as Gideon is in trouble.
Oh dear. He's going to flash. Blast Cone is going to be there, but Showmaker is looking to pick him up. Is the Seismic Shove available? Yes, it is, but now he has to walk into the other rocks, and that is going to be the kill going over to Showmaker. And he gets the Feats of Warfare at the same time. Really nicely played. And Showmaker actually looking on form here today. Something that a lot of us have been concerned about for DK.
And they didn't get the teleport out of Shiyu. He died, but he just returned to lane. And now with that pick onto Gideon, that Dragon Prio I was talking about, Nongshim, we're going to have to make something happen to get, I think is all but just guaranteed gone. If the play onto Shiyu topside, I think, was what they were looking for there to then kind of turn the tides, but they didn't get enough of an edge there. And it's just King gets a plate, they get a kill, but now that Gideon is gone, like, look at this setup here. Look at how difficult it is for Nongshim to approach Dragon. And it's, in fact, Lucid just doing this solo as aiming and barrel stand nearby, and that is enough. Showmaker doesn't have his ult, but he doesn't necessarily need it here. Nongshim are just not able to get over here and contest, and that's going to be a 2 Drake lead here for Dplus. That Soul, we'll see what it's going to be.
It's
Cloud again.
Oh my goodness. It's not my birthday anymore. That was last month. So like 2 weeks ago. Still, feels like it as the Cloud Soul once again. Rookern is now completed here for Shiyu, as he is not wanting to head back to that top lane. You can see wandering towards mid lane for now. And I wouldn't blame him. I think it's been a really rough time against Kingan's Rumble. Seismic Shove is going to connect. Picks up one of the little pebbles on the ground.
Not quite a stun there. And I mean, this matchup here has just been Gio and Lehens hanging out under turret, getting what they can. And so far, like, that's been pretty much good enough. They were able to survive the last gank. And, you know, they lost some farm, but Senna is scaling. 40 stacks here at 14. Feeling pretty good about that.
Barrel doesn't find the handshake. You can see another dive is being set up.
Lucid is here. Showmaker's here. His ult's not ready, but I don't know if he needs it, honestly.
Oh, wind becomes lightning. Gio going to try and get himself out of there. Showmaker comes on over, and he might take a consolation Lehens, and that is absolutely going to be theirs. Fate's Call invested. They still do have, like, the Weaver's Wall wasn't even available.
Yeah, no,
they've got Hostile Takeover. It was only Fate's Call.
And Calyx gets control of this mid wave, but what does it mean? You know, there's no plates to get here. There's no value in this mid lane. Can deny some farm from Showmaker, but I think he likes the denial of the Senna more. Gideon will, as a jungler, win this one.
Yeah, Shiyu is going to look to try and get this Ornhorn over the top, and it's not going to work out. Now Showmaker turns up. Lucid going to be there as well, but Gideon, he's just going to be able to create the decoy, get himself out of there. Oh, nice seismic shot there onto Calyx, who does steal a call of the Forge Guard.
I think that was a bit of an unforced error there from Shiyu to try to go over and...
I think Shiyu is just having a horrible time.
He's like, I want money, so maybe I'll go in the jungle, and yeah, no. When you dive like that, that's where the enemy jungler is going to appear and try to make a cross map, and he just gave it over basically on a silver platter. And now we're looking for a hook.
Yeah, Lehens finds the max range onto Barrel. He's going to flash. Throws down the hostile takeover here as Lehens is looking to try and stun off his teammates, but does not manage to do so. Teleport in from Calyx.
He has the Ornhorn, and there's no Renata ultimate anymore. This is a really nice setup here for the side of Nongshim for this Herald fight.
Yeah, Cole the Forge got advantage over to Nongshim. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
Well, in goes Lucid, looks for a little bit of an angle as Gideon. Warrior Trickster will be able to avoid any sort of engage. Another hook does come on through there as he equalizes a beautiful position. The Ram comes down as well, and my God, Lucid almost just dead. He gets bailed out, but I don't think they're getting a kill. As Shiyu just trying to be a nuisance, and it does not work. Another one connects max range. He flashes away, and Lehens stays alive, but they don't quite have enough of the damage. And Shiyu now just trying to run away, aiming. Oh dear, just needs a pierce to get himself in range, and that is a dead Senna. DK picking up the fact that Nongshim, without Equalizer, don't necessarily have the deeps to get through them at this stage.
Yeah, no, down but not out in that fight for sure. So much used to kill Lucid. His Crescent Guard got insane value as Gio has to put himself in harm's way to try to secure that kill, and is in fact why he went down. Okay, Shiyu just wants to farm.
Yeah, please let Shiyu at least get the experience for the cannon. And he does. He'll get a double knock up here as well, but that turret is really dead. Showmaker is going to try and bail out his top laner though. Seismic Shove goes wide, and Shiyu is still going to go down. Showmaker, can you do it? You're in melee range against a Silas and a Rumble. The bailout's immediate, but it does not matter. He's still going to get put down, and Calyx will be able to get that kill. A 2-for-1 is going to be the ensuing trade.
Looked kind of cool in the end. Showmaker now has 4 kills, but ultimately he still dies.
Oh, Lehens never changed. This team fight lands every hook, and that one he hits a wall.
Lehens is like, he thinks he's Callisto. He's like, I go in, I'm dashing because I'm caught by a shove. I got a flash. On his next hook, he goes in and goes straight out, man. He's in and out on this Nautilus. Looking for the pull back here onto Shiyu as well. Shiyu actually not being hit by any of that Q, but does get hit by Lehens here, who does that flash I was talking about. And then things get crazy here on the follow-up, looking for the pick. As we fast forward, aiming, has to flash for this one, ends up getting the kill there, or has to queue for that one. And over here, this is like, it's a cool idea from Showmaker coming over here, but like you said, he's kind of putting himself in harm's way.
Yeah, it was fair. Like, Beryl turns up in the nick of time to get the bailout, so they do manage to get the kill.
If, you know, if he had his ultimate, like the Renata ultimate, I think that's a different story, but he did not.
And DK was able to also get the Rift Herald, so that's also a big deal. Nongshim, they're going to collect themselves this outer turret on the bottom side, but Rift Herald might be able to get 2 turrets, which is, I think, a bit of a bigger deal. As alright, Equalizer just to clear out the wave, but it doesn't clear the Rift Herald. Now Kingan's going to get knocked up. Fate's Call for another knock-up as he gets handshook and destroyed. Shiu gets his revenge as he's now level 11 on this on, feeling a lot better.
Well, I mean, that just should be the dragon here. You got blue buff.
That was a big whiff from Nongshim.
Yeah, I mean, just Kingan getting completely caught there with no support, and I mean, they're going to hang out in the area, maybe look for a steal here. Gideon does have flash, but
I don't think so, man. Have any right to go for it exactly.
I mean, maybe if somebody bathed weird here in the jungle, you could get a catch, and they're just going to push for this inner, I suppose, while they're backing. But it's a pretty nice bloom here, and maybe they do find Beryl?
Okay, well, he's going to face check as Shiu. He has an idea that maybe there's a problematic scenario going on, but instead, Showmaker is just going to clear out this wave. Are they still in the brush?
No.
Yes, they are.
Oh, they are. Okay.
And they were still pings. And in fact, DK, aware of it, Showmaker just going to walk away from Calyx, and yeah, not going to spring that trap.
I mean, it was a opportunistic call at best, as they knew where Dplus were, and they were hoping to catch Showmaker or catch anyone who passed down that way for the wave, but Dplus are just not going to fall for it, and I thought they were gone because I thought they realized, like, okay, well, this just isn't going to happen, but they stayed and stayed and stayed, and it's not going to cost them too much for that, but at the end of the day, Dplus still with 1,000 gold to lead here, and Soul Point. And Nongshim, with this composition, if they got just one dragon, that's an additional amount of time for Jiu to start stacking up. I mean, he's getting closer to that 60 at 20 stacks breakpoint that we talk about a lot, but still needs a lot more time. Kingan getting caught like we saw in the last fight, not the end of the world, but it's moments like that that make you worry about what the map could look like and how difficult it is to play this comp with Lehens playing melee into this. When you're trying to check vision, when you're trying to set up for those objectives, they haven't been able to get a single true objective fight. It's really just been fighting around topside that's been their only anchor, their only place where they can find success. As Calyx has a ward here, so should be respectful.
Yeah, knows exactly what's going on. As Lucid Barrel and aiming, moving down towards his bottom side. Showmaker's going to be there. They're just going to start up the Otacon. They don't have a ward in this tri-brush, and the rest of Nongshim are coming over, but DK feeling strong at this point in time. Good dash to get out of the way. The seismic shove there from Calyx as they are continuing to close in. Kingan's teleported towards that bottom side, and the Otacon going to run out of patience and head back towards the river. Control ward once again in this tri-brush as well.
I just think starting this off is so difficult here for Nongshim.
Oh, Calyx, don't risk it. You can't risk it again. No, you don't. No,
He's not going to do it.
Young man, please. Your life is worth too much, and he does agree. He's going to back away.
But if we just, group up here as a 10-man around Otacon, I don't think they're getting much out of this. Okay, Gio is going to go stack in the mid lane. I think this is the right call. Could still look for a fight later as Weaver's Wall.
Yeah, they're going to try and catch out Calyx here as he holds onto the seismic shove, and there it is. It does not connect, and he has to flash to get over the wall. Good positioning there from Calyx. Does expend the summoner spell, but
the Weaver's Wall
is pushing this whole time.
Yeah, and the Weaver's Wall is down now, so that's a big zoning tool. And Gideon is ready to look for a potential steal here. This is not a secure by any means for Dplus. They're going to have to look for a fight or a turn.
Yep, Gio's now back with the rest of the team as Calyx on a bit of a flank angle. This is going to be a 50-50. The equalizer goes down. There are rams everywhere. My goodness, what happened at the farm as the Fate's Call is going to come through to get Beryl out of dodge. Shiu's in trouble, but he flashes to get out of the way. Beryl is in a really rough spot. The Lens is also, as he's taken down exceptionally low. Oh God, the 5 versus 5 Alcove gaming is going to ensue. The health bars on DK are so low, but they're still just going to try and walk it off. Shiu's health bar is decent as Shiu gets the knock up. Calyx is going to get closed in on by Luke. Lucid, who's just looking for the 1v1 into the Silas, and maybe he's going to be able to do it. He finds the win, becomes lightning, and how are DK still alive?
Oh, Lucid might just get out too. King
Oh, the flash forward from King, and BS stopped up. Lucid is a god. This guy doesn't make sense. He will die in the end, but he saved that whole fight for DK.
Yeah, let's see if anyone else can get out here. I mean, they're chasing deep. I don't know if Nongshim should be actually going this far into this situation. That
I don't think DK should be walking back.
Yeah, no, you got out. You got out. Showmaker does show up here, TP'd in.
Yeah, Seismic Shove does nothing at all, but Lance is still going to be dead. They do get Barrel, so it's a 1-for-1, but now in this 2v2, I'm feeling like DK are feeling happy about it. There it is, the double for aiming, and the surprise Teemo face for DK, as that was an ace for a couple of seconds.
If both teams walk away on those Raptors, Nongshim are like, oh, let's not chase too far, the Dplus don't turn on them, then it's a 400 gold lead after this fight for Dplus, and that's it. Instead, it goes up to almost 2,000 after they end up getting those picks there, and Nongshim overextend. Dplus, you have to play this so well to actually walk away alive. Nongshim playing really respectfully here, knowing their engage support is so incredibly low. And they're like, I can't just go in here. We don't have a ton of vision. That controller gets so much value here because you don't know exactly where Dplus are standing. Shiu ends up re-engaging here and getting turned on and taken out. But then, watch the Lucid fight here on the top side. Because Calyx doesn't have buttons and Lucid's like, I do. And he gets another knock up here when Kingen goes in. This audaciously charges him and knocks him up. He still dies, but he takes the rumble out, which really shapes how the rest of this fight
look. Is this free soul? Yeah, I guess it's free soul. Build a wall, take a dragon.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, easiest Cloud Soul of their lives. Snare going to connect. As alright, the Ram is going to get called. We'll see what Shiu can make of it as Lens goes in. The follow-up is a little bit late, but the equalizer is still fantastic. The hostile takeover is even better. 3-man knockup from Shiu, but still they are cooking. They are getting murdered as Gideon gets into that backline. Lucid and Shiu are still up, but they've lost everyone else. Nongshim still managed to make it an even trade after losing the Drake, and I say even, Gideon's still dead.
I mean, it's still, ends up being a fairly close game here in terms of gold, but the Cloud Soul value is going to be here for Dplus.
I was so excited. Like, I really thought the Nongshim had won that, and then they just didn't.
No. Well, it looked like it was a good start, but the equalizer value was pretty insane. It's still unfortunate, though, that, yes, aiming goes down, but so much has to be burned in order to take him out here. As the fight, the angle here is so opportunistic for Nongshim, but they have to do something. They gave this up for free, right? So they have to actually look and force this fight. The Ornhorn buys some space, but this equalizer here from Kingen is insane, coupled with the Cyclone here. And she was trying to look for knockups while they get to the back line, but once aiming is down here, that's the end of that. And like,
they just trade backlines. That's what happened.
And Gideon also can't be rended because Kalista is dead. So look like, wait, why didn't he kill him? But he still ultimately dies to Lucid. You're starting to see both the fact that Dplus are really ahead and have this strong composition, the value of the Cloud Soul is going to be realized in some of these upcoming fights, but also that Nongshim are really strong at this point in the game as well. Kingen is a monster if he can place his equalizer well. Jiu's positioning has been so good that he's been able to last until the end of these fights and is doing so much work. It's just that Nongshim have never been able to take a fight on their terms. If they can do that even just one time, they win a fight, get map control, they can get back in this game. That's a big if. Man, it's going to be really tough now into this Cloud Soul here for Dplus.
Yeah.
But it could happen. All they need is one fight, and this game is winnable for them. How they find it, though, is yet to be seen. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, the
game is closer than it looks is what I'm really getting at.
Yeah, the problem is we saw a 4-man ulti out of Beryl, and I don't know whether Nongshim have a good fight that doesn't involve that being a possibility. Renata is just so good into these short-range champions.
And when you just play every fight in the choke point, how do you find the angle as Calyx?
Yeah.
How do you find the angle as Gideon? And it makes me wonder if maybe Calyx should consider looking for the hijack of Barrel's ultimate himself in some of these fights, because it's a little bit more subtle how you can play it. Obviously, looking for the Ornhorn is the most guaranteed, really nice angle to set up your Wukong, but I definitely think there should be some consideration on it, depending on how the fights and the setups are looking. We do have Baron up now, and so both teams are fighting for vision control here on this top side.
The thing that I'm just really happy about is seeing Lucid play this well. He really had a rough time in their earlier series this week and hasn't really looked himself. This, though, today, this is the Lucid that we're used to seeing. The one that is just happy to fight and just wins a lot of the time.
confidence is a big thing.
Oh yeah,
for younger players.
I feel like he's got it back. I feel like his mojo has returned for this match against the Noodles.
All right, Calyx left alone here. We'll try to clear this wave.
Sorry about the caster curse. Seismic Shove is going to come through. Never mind, it's a Calyx by himself. The flash forward from Barrel to find the handshake and get the kill. My goat right there is now Shiu could be in a bunch of trouble. The Ram is going to come through though, and he doesn't get the knock-up, so still will be going down. That could have been really cute, but it's a great interruption.
And with the kill on the Ornn there, it's not like Dplus can take this Baron for free. It's going to have to be a fight, but they have Weaver's Wall. And it's been every single objective Nongshim has been second to. Like every single one, and they don't get to dictate the pace. And so Dplus have all the options here. Showmaker's Wall is the first.
Yeah, he's going to build that wall. The Equalizer is helping DK take this Baron right now, as the wall will come down. Gideon's going to make it a 50-50, but it's the Rend that locks it down. And then the Monkey dies. Lucid gets into that backline, and Beryl is going to join in with the Fate's Goal. Lands in so much trouble, and aiming is throwing sticks all over the place. Jiu, the last man standing once again, and he'll get shoved seismically into the death chamber.
Dplus,
DK, I think this might be the end of the game.
I think so. Their objective control with this early game comp, the bottom side control they played through was brilliant. All 4 dragons to them, and a Baron to boot. It's never a 50-50 when you've got a Kalista with those sticks in the Baron. Gideon tried his best there, but he won't win it in the end. And Dplus off to a confident start here.
Yep. There is another wall. You can build that, but DK, they have the ability to knock it down, as they have this on. First Nexus turret going to go down. Still waiting on Kingen and Jiu to respawn, and I think the Nexus is not long for the world. However, DK do need to win another fight, and in fact, they just will. That's a decent way to do it. Nexus next going to go down, and Kingen not even allowed to try and fight back. DK looking absolutely dominant in game number 1.
A clean Dplus victory.